we talked to Nate yesterday, and even after media night last night, I mean, this Chiefs team is on the upswing, right? They're playing the best football of their season right now. The Niners, that's not the case. One of the most recent pieces you wrote for The Athletic was kind of about the panic that's being incited about the way the defense has played over the last couple weeks. So how would you just assess the vibe and the feeling around this team, especially when you contrast it to where the Chiefs are right now?
Yeah, well, the Chiefs are doing what the Niners have done in previous years, which is, win at the end of the season and then go into the playoffs with great momentum, and you've got all this confidence because you're winning games that you wouldn't have mid-season. You're playing your best ball. 49ers are, in some metrics, are playing their worst ball of the season at crunch time here in the playoffs. And they've been able to win. They've been able to kind of eke out these victories, and it goes to their talent that they're able to not play and maybe play 85% of their potential and still beat a Green Bay Packers team, still beat a Detroit Lions team. But it is something that they haven't figured out. They had gotten up for games this year. The season opener in Pittsburgh blew the doors off a Steelers team that was, thinking that they were going to have a special season.
Yeah.
Week 5 against Dallas blew the doors off of the Cowboys. They went into their slide, the 49ers did, right before the bye. They said, okay, we're gonna rest up with the bye, and we're gonna come out and we're gonna play like we can. They blew the doors off a Jaguars team that at that point was really good and was coming off of its bye and was playing at home. And that was like the best game they played all season. And then, of course, they went to Philadelphia, and this was their regular season Super Bowl. And they just annihilated the Eagles, embarrassed them in their own house. But after that, it's been, kind of sleepy here, disjointed there. They haven't really put together a complete game since Philadelphia, and that was on December 3rd. So we're talking 2.5 months here where they haven't been playing their best ball, and they're having trouble kind of locating trying to find that mojo that they had in spades when they went to Philadelphia.
You look at the teams that they beat in that list, though, and where they were. I think that where those teams were in the trajectory of their season is notable. The Cowboys were right before the bye. It's right before they tweaked their offense and started doing some new stuff. The Eagles, that was right before their slide started. So even those blowouts were at interesting moments for those teams.
Yeah.
The Jaguars game, I think, is a really good thing to bring up because I was talking to a Chiefs coach yesterday who brought that game up to me, where they were kind of floundering a little bit before the bye. They come out against Jacksonville, and they do some things defensively that they hadn't done that season. Some 5-man fronts, some pressure looks. They felt like they got a kind of a shot in the arm schematically when they were trying some new stuff to give them some energy. Do you think that's what they're going to do on Sunday? Do you think we'll see a couple tweaks here and there to maybe give them a little bit of a boost when things have become a little bit stagnant recently?
Yeah, that game was the we need to change something up game. And they had Chase Young for the first time. They weren't getting any pass rush from the pass rusher opposite Bosa to that point. So Young comes in, he offers something. And I realize he hasn't been anywhere near Nick Bosa, but he's been better than what they had at defensive end going in.
Yeah.
Productive. Yeah. Big guy. You have to account for him. They as you said, they switched up their coverages. They did a lot more disguising. They were so confident in their defense that they would just line up. This is what we do. Try to get past us. And teams were starting to figure that out. Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow in particular, really just diced them up. They had their highest completion percentages of the season against the 49ers. So
I think those are good quarterbacks to mention. Like just sound quarterbacks, sound offensive coaches where it's like, okay, if you present these weaknesses to us, we'll be able to take advantage of them.
Absolutely.
And they're about to play another one.
Right. They did play one in Jared Goff, and they did a good job against him, but even Goff had a nice completion percentage against them.
When he wasn't pressured, he really did what he wanted to.
Once they started pressuring him, once they moved him 5 inches, he was not a very good quarterback. This guy that they're going to play on Sunday, he does move well.
Stylistically a little bit different than Jared Goff.
Anti-Goff. It's a great question about how they're going to disguise those coverages, what they're going to do differently against the Chiefs. But to me, they were talking about effort issues.
Mm-hmm.
Hustle. Things that are bizarre for an NFL team, much less an NFL team that's playing its biggest games of the season.
But also an NFL team that's been defined by playing like that.
Yes.
Like for this team specifically, that seems so out of character that it's almost hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, that defensive line is built on hustle. I mean, it's a very aggressive defensive line. It's a deep defensive line. So with the instruction being, we want you going all out on every play. And if you get tired, just tap your helmet. We got another guy. We got another 4 guys waiting to come in. So you don't have to sort of govern yourself. You can go, what, to the wall the full game, and we'll take care of you. But they just didn't have that in either the Packers game or the Lions game.
You wrote last week in the piece that you wrote about the defense, they're 22nd in EPA per play on defense since week 11. And that number is even shocking to me. I mean, anecdotally watching them struggle a little bit. But I think if you build a case for why this can change, that Jacksonville game is a good place to start. When we have a chance to kind of sit back, take a deep breath, press pause, they have shown an ability to bounce back from bad stretches.
Yes. And that was what, getting the number 1 seed was all about. We are a really good team when we're well rested, when we can kind of take a pause. They did that coming out of their bye. They've done that at other points in the season. They had a Thursday game and a little bit of extra rest for the next game. They've been good after rest. And we should mention that they did beat the Packers and they did beat the Lions. So it's not like they've been terrible, but they haven't been the juggernaut coming out of a long rest period that they were at other points during the season.
Like you mentioned, it felt in the second half, especially against the Lions, and some in the first half, they were overwhelming with talent. There was 1 or 2 plays from every single guy. McCaffrey has that ball he catches in the left flat that he takes 25 yards on the touchdown drive. A couple touches for Debo that are underneath plays where he makes 2 guys miss. Kittle had that 1 chunk reception. Ayuk had the deflected pass. Like every single guy had their moment, but those are more our players are better than you, not we're operating on all cylinders right now.
Right, and there was one incredibly lucky play in that, and that's the one that really sort of uncorked the bottle for them. That was the Ayuk 51-yard ladybug play where the Lions defender absolutely should have caught the ball. He didn't, and that happens. I mean, you have to be lucky at points to win a Super Bowl. Every team has been, but they needed that in a big way to kind of get going in that game.
What I love about it is that every guy presents an answer to a different problem. Right? If you're going to play a bunch of kind of soft shell coverage, we're going to get the ball in Debo's hands and let him go to work. And I think that's why they struggled so much in the Packer game, is that he was going to be a huge part of that game plan. For Ayuk, it's, okay, if you want to play man, or if you want to bump the coverage one way and leave us a one-on-one matchup, that's our answer to this. With McCaffrey, it's, okay, we can have 8 guys in the box consistently because you have to worry about him. So now we can run it with him or throw it. So every guy presents an answer to a different problem that a defense can present. And when you put it all in totality, that's what you get with the Niners offense.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
The Niners have done a good job this season. You can look it up. I mean, they scored a touchdown or a field goal on something like on their initial drive in their first 13 games. It was ridiculous. And so they got this formula going where, they got early leads on teams. And so they could run the ball, and so like I was saying earlier, the linebackers still had to respect the run throughout the entire game, and then Purdy could throw over the top, and he's really good at those little pocket throws to Ayuk over the middle, to Debo Samuel as well, but mostly to Ayuk. It's games where the other team gets a lead that's really kind of giving them fits. I mean, that's why the Lions' comeback was so sort of counter to what their formula has been. It's like the first big comeback that Brock Purdy's ever had. All those things. That's why all of that is unique, because it's been going entirely against the formula that they'd set up during the season.
Those are the star players and how they drive what the Niners are. Who are the guys that we don't think or talk enough about that kind of define the fabric of what this Niners team is?
Well, on defense, Drake Greenlaw, I think he's starting to get more and more recognition. I hope Charvarius Ward is. I know he has in the Bay Area. I don't know if it's sort of broken out to sort of national. He's their top cover cornerback. I mean, he's gone in and played DK Metcalf a couple times one-on-one and just shut him down. He's that good. So, those 2 guys leap to mind on defense. On offense, it's sort of an anonymous offensive line, aside from the left tackle. But Jake Brendel, the center, I think has been good. Kyle Shanahan, very picky about wide receivers. He's also very picky about centers. He needs a very good center, a very mobile center. And Brendel has really kind of taken that role in. So he'd be somebody I'd pick out as underrated.
It's such a good point because you look at Shanahan, the comparison I was in my mind I immediately made was like Bill Belichick with coaches. Like he only is going to trust guys that he knows. And the fact that Alex Mack followed Kyle to like 3 different stops and then he had to figure out life after Alex Mack, the fact that he landed on Drake Brendel, Drake Brendel feels like a big deal.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal that his number 2 guy in the room is Chris Furster, an offensive line coach. And it's Furster who worked with Brendel in Miami, who kind of saw him as a sort of a young guy I can groom, and then brought him to San Francisco.
Late bloomer, right?
He's in his 30s. Yeah,
and he was in probably 28, 29 his first year as a starter.
Right. He's one of those guys that took the COVID exemption too, so that sort of kind of pushed it back a little bit. So he's sort of reaching a point in his career that most players do, maybe in their mid-20s, and here he is in his early 30s. So I don't know what that means for longevity, but there's certain maturity and knowledge that comes with being that age that I think has probably helped him as well.
Your gut feeling, what version of the Niners do we see on Sunday?
I mean, if you can't summon it for this game, it's just gone. But I would have thought that they could have done it for the Packers and the Lions as well. I liken it to the Avengers, where they got to get all the Avengers together for this one, you know?
It's a big challenge.
You got to bring McCaffrey in from this netherworld. You got to bring Ayuk in. You got to get Chase Young to step up. And if they do, like I said, it's an all-star team. It's a formidable it's as talented as a team as we've seen in the Super Bowl, and I don't know, since the mid-90s San Francisco 49ers. So, I mean, if they come in and play with a purpose like they did against the Eagles, they showed up wearing all black to that game because they wanted it to be a funeral for the Eagles, the team that they and really most of America loathes the most. If they can kind of somehow get that together for this game, I think they can win it. If not, then it's just going to be Patrick Mahomes picking them apart.
And it's going to be a lot of hard conversations after the season because this team is set up and was supposed to.
Right. How do you top this team?
Yep. Matt Barrows, thank you very much for the time, sir. Always great to chat with you. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you so much for having me on.